Trump himself on the campaign trail said President Biden should be arrested for treason and that he would appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the entire Biden family. Ditto Vice President Harris and former President Obama, among others. How do you do that? How do you at the one time say enough with the warfare and the politically motivated prosecutions and at the same time launch more investigations that look just like that?
Well, we're getting ready to find out. We don't know what a Trump Justice Department is really like. We can think back to in 2009, at this time in 2009, President-elect Barack Obama was under intense pressure from many in the left of his party to prosecute maybe George W. Bush, but certainly Dick Cheney, certainly Donald Rumsfeld for their role in the Iraq War and what progressives and people on the left in America said were crimes. Barack Obama disappointed them and said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're not gonna go back and do that." When Joe Biden didn't intervene to prevent federal prosecutions of Donald Trump for his actions after the presidency and, of course, for those during the presidency, it was precedent breaking. But this was a lot of this is the story of Donald Trump. He breaks precedents himself. How does the system deal with the person who doesn't play by the rules? Now we get to find out, as you say, does J.D. Vance mean that we're not going to do this anymore, that he's not going to follow suit and allow prosecutions? Or does it mean that that this will be retribution and that what J.D. Vance is saying is that because Donald Trump is going to punish Democrats so much and make them hurt so much that they won't do it next time? I don't know what the answer to that is, and that's a big part of the cliffhanger that we're living with as this transition goes forward.
Well, speaking of transition, there's a new poll out today, and it shows Trump's transition is getting a lot of strong support. It shows 59% of Americans approve of how the transition's going, even though many of these cabinet picks continue to generate a lot of really critical controversy. There was one headline today from Esquire magazine calling some of the picks, quote, an endless parade of wackadoos, smackbrains, and fanatics.
Well, I think for most Americans, they don't follow it too closely. And I think there's a long tradition of honeymoon periods for presidents-elect. And the most significant thing about Trump's position now is compared to where it was 8 years ago when he took office before. He took office under a cloud. He didn't get that bounce at the beginning. When we look at contemporaneous polling from 2016, early 2015, or 2017, it wasn't exactly like that. This time, Trump is getting a win bonus, and maybe it's because that Americans know him better and they feel like they know what to expect of him. And maybe Americans have learned to tune out a lot of the noise around Trump, but that doesn't change this very important fact.
Yeah.
These honeymoon periods can be very short. They can be very short if you do not deliver results. We can think about, we mentioned Barack Obama when he took office before. His honeymoon period was relatively short and the crash was pretty sharp because people didn't like the direction he was going. Joe Biden can tell a very similar story.
You bet.
So voters give you a chance, but if they don't like what you're doing once you get in office, they'll take it away.
Yeah, and that same poll show voters fully expect the grocery prices and the prices they're paying at stores right now to go down. If they don't go down quickly, and I'm not sure how Trump does this and makes this happen quickly for Americans, they will quickly, the bloom will go off the rose.
I think what Republicans are hoping are that the positive economic indicators that we've seen, decreasing inflation, wages up, that those trends continue, and that as stock prices continue to rise, that Americans will credit Trump. You know, the way that it worked out for Joe Biden was that Americans associated pre-pandemic with Donald Trump and everything in the pandemic and post-pandemic with, and especially that inflation, with Joe Biden. And we know it's a more complicated story than that, but that was, I think, the shorthand that came to mind. What Republicans are now hoping is that Trump gets to be remembered as the post-inflation, the boom president, something that will would frustrate Democrats enormously.
Yeah.
But they're hoping that they will catch the wave in the right direction this time.
Well.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.